Player to player, pimp to pimp.
All right, everyone, this is Tim's New York County Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. It's the day after the debacle. It's the day after the Eagles loss. You know what? I'm laughing because I see people on social media. I see people, certain content creators making videos saying the Giants got jobbed. The Giants got robbed in Philadelphia. Oh, there's just so many delusional fans. I'm kind of glad there's only 2 games left in the season. Because I don't know what games other people are watching, because I'm watching a totally different game. And like I said it before, if it wasn't for the special teams turnover and the Adoree Jackson interception, this probably would have been a blowout. Which is fine, because the Eagles are going to the playoffs and we are going to a top 5 draft pick. And hopefully that top 5 draft pick is going to turn into a quarterback. Because for everyone who have this thought process that and you know what, and I have to give certain people credit, because there were certain people out that understood that this was Linsanity. And we talked about it before. Linsanity was only literally for a month. So we kind of all knew. Jersey. Shore. Tommy. Waiting for the beat to drop. We all knew Tommy DeVito was going to, well, not all of us. Some of us knew that Tommy DeVito was going to come crashing down to earth. You could see the league kind of figuring it out. You could see the league figuring out the elongated wind-up. You could see the fact that, you know, if you get directly into his face, he has a difficult time stepping up into the pocket throwing. You could see that he did not have the arm strength to deal with any type of failures in his mechanics. That he's not going to be able to hit someone 30, 40 yards down the field with any type of accuracy. These are all the things that you saw in college. These are all the things that people talked about, that scouts talked about. He wasn't invited to the combine. He was an undrafted free agent for a reason. So the story, you know, like I said, Cinderella story sometimes has to end. And it's not a slight against Tommy DeVito. It's more a slight, or more of being a little bit, I almost want to say in some regards, bullheadedness by Brian Daboll, to literally come out after the game 2 weeks ago and say, well, Tommy's going to start in Philadelphia because he gives us the best chance to win. Now, anyway, we did a whole video about that, and we were like, well, that's kind of a factually inaccurate statement. And anyone that really watched the last couple of games of Tommy DeVito could literally see the league catching up quickly to what he does and what he does well and what he can't do. And I think sometimes in this season that we've been going through right now, it's almost in regards to sometimes the arrogance of Brian Daboll to not make changes or make adjustments quickly enough that will allow the team to remain somewhat competitive, because the defense at times plays extremely well. They also at times give up huge long drives, and they also at times give up scores. But they do have their moments, and they keep you at some regards into the game at certain amounts of times. But then your offense lets you down because you kind of get away from Saquon Barkley. You play Daniel Jones. My thing was this. Yeah, you gave Daniel Jones all that money, but at the end of the day, the object is to win games. And if you sit there and tell me that Tommy DeVito has a better chance of winning the game over Tyrod Taylor in Philadelphia, you're crazy. And there were instances early in the season where Jones probably should have been benched for Tyrod Taylor. But you weren't going to do that because you literally just gave him $160 million. Well, of course, it's only 90 guaranteed. So I get a little bit concerned about the decision-making process of not only Daboll in regards to being stubborn, but also of our old buddy, Joe Schoen. And this isn't a video where I'm going to be knocking all these guys. It's just things that I want to point out that seems to be factually accurate. You knew, the most of us knew that Daniel Jones had an above-average season for him. For any other quarterback in the NFL, it was a below-average season. But you still paid him. You went out and you told us, Joe, that, who could screw up 2 top 5 picks or 2 top 10 picks? Well, right now it's looking like you might have. Because I will always have the image of Jalen Hurts blocking Kayvon Thibodeau. That image will always be ingrained in my head now. He literally just got in front of Kayvon. And Kayvon couldn't figure out a way to get through the quarterback. You could like Kayvon, you could hate Kayvon, you could talk about all of his sacks, but you also have to talk about the fact that he's, James Williams likes to call him Casper, the friendly pass rusher, because he just disappears. He vanishes. And he's vanished again. He's got a sack over the last 3 games. He had half a sack in 2 games. And he really hasn't had anything impactful and he didn't have anything impactful since the Raiders game. And there are certain moments in time where he takes plays off. And I tried to bypass that when people talked about that in Oregon, how he took plays off. But there was a play yesterday where Swift got around Kayvon. And Kayvon was trailing. And he saw Pinnock get ready to make the tackle. And as Pinnock was about to make the tackle, Kayvon slowed down. And he was still a good 3-4 yards away from the play, but he slowed up. He didn't continue to run to the play. What if Swift got around Pinnock? What would have happened then? Would Kayvon then decide to speed up again? And then there was another play that Kayvon had where, again, he just seems disinterested in playing in the run game. I've always thought Kayvon would be better as a defensive end than a linebacker. But he would be more of an undersized defensive end, and you would have to have an extremely strong outside linebacker playing alongside him to help with his deficiencies in reference to maintaining his assignments against the run. But he's showing more and more now when he gets disinterested that he's just he doesn't want to play. He again on his stat sheet, Kayvon, what people want to talk about is multiple sacks games, but let's talk about his games where he basically doesn't show up on the stat sheet. There's a couple of those games as well. You have a divisional rival on Christmas Day, a game that is nationally televised, and you just decide not to show up again. And you literally got blocked by the quarterback. That is beyond crazy to me. That this guy who's supposed to be a destructive force, he's supposed to be Kroll the Destroyer, and he got blocked by a quarterback and doesn't seem to have any interest in reference to running down plays anymore. Well, I guess because the season's over for him, so he's like, I'll be fine. But that really bugs me, that Swift play. I mean, Swift went around Kayvon. It was in the third quarter. The game is still in doubt. Swift goes around Kayvon. Kayvon is out of the play. He's trailing. He is running. He sees that Pinnock is about to make the tackle or going to try to attempt to make the tackle, and he literally pulled up. He stopped running. Carl Banks can tell me how much he loves Kayvon. Carl Banks can tell me anything he wants about that. But maybe the guys in WFAN are right. He does take a lot of plays off. And at the end of the day, that's not going to bode well when we kind of are sitting there looking at this going, this is nonsense. We took this guy 5th overall, and this is what we're going to get out of him? And then I think about Wan'Dale Robinson. This is another Joe Schoen pick. You love Wan'Dale Robinson. You do. He's got heart. He's got. And people talk about, he's got 80% of his catches. 80% catch. Yeah. Okay. Well, no. And we blew that up. But he is just too small. And I mean, I don't think he's too small to play in the league, but he's too small to put him anywhere deeper down the field. He really is. He gets lost. And not in a good way. Because of the fact that you have quarterbacks that are missing him, trying to find him, trying to get the ball over defenders to get it to him. And when you have a 5'8" wide receiver running down the field, and we talked about this yesterday, and against a 6-foot corner, you're not going to get what you want. Just make Wan'Dale Robinson a running back. I can't remember the running back that Philadelphia used to have. He was a wide receiver at one point, then he basically became a running back. Just make him a running back. Can we just please do that? Because it's just crazy to watch this at times. He had 3 receptions for 16 yards or 5.3 yards. His longest was 8. He had a big drop on that 3rd down. And again, Tyrod had to put it over the defender between 2 defenders, dropped it in the bucket for Wan'Dale, and Wan'Dale drops it. And then you had the play on the sideline in the 4th quarter where Wan'Dale basically got swallowed up by the corner. Yeah, you could potentially say that was pass interference, but the ball, first of all, was not catchable, and second of all, Wan'Dale just got lost behind the larger corner itself. And again, this is another one of Joe Schoen's guys. Joe Schoen's guy. We're bringing in Wan'Dale Robinson. And these were some of the things that you saw in Kentucky. That Wan'Dale was not really that explosive. He got pulled down from behind quite a bit. And I remember doing the stream on draft day worried that Wan'Dale would have difficulties out of the backfield in regards to maybe being more than 10, 15 yards down the field because of his size. And all that seems to be coming to fruition right now because it's just what it is. You have a 885-pound wide receiver who's got 46 catches, tied for 75th in the league, for 369 yards. And is averaging 8 yards. People are like, well, he's got an 80% catch ratio. Yeah, but when the ball's only thrown 4 yards in front of you, yeah, you better start catching it. And then we look at the Waller. Waller's shot. He's just done. And the blunder he made at the end of the game, he catches the ball, and he doesn't try to get off the field. If you're injured and you're waving, and everyone saw you waving your arms, you just run to the sideline and get off the fucking field. You burned 10 seconds. We could have had we could have had at least 2 plays, potentially 3, but you burned over 10 seconds just because you didn't get off the field. This is supposed to be the savvy veteran pickup. The one we only traded that 3rd-round pick for, and it wasn't, we did all these wonderful things to get. He's just not impactful. Now, we worried about that. Again, go back and watch the video. We talked about it. We talked about the day we signed it, the day we traded for him. If he was a Darren Waller for 3 years ago, it's a steal. If he was the one for the last 2 years, it's going to be a bust, and he is the one from the last 2 years. But we're kind of seeing a pattern a little bit with Schoen. And I'm getting Schoen and Dable, and I'm getting concerned about the fact that we are going to let Joe Schoen pick a quarterback, because he's going to have to pick a quarterback. You can go with the fact that he nailed Wando. He nailed the pick for Banks. Yeah, he gets an A in my mind on Banks right now because Banks has been a stud. John Michael Schmitz, I like John Michael Schmitz, but the jury's still out. I still think he needs to get some size. I still think he needs to get some bulk. I still think he needs to find some strength. I'm not 100% sold on how he snaps the ball back to the quarterback, but we're going to talk about that. Jalen Hyatt, who I loved, he's just not getting off the line. He's getting jammed by these larger corners, and he's not using his speed. He's not using his quickness to get around him. Kind of like I thought he was going to be like Devontae Smith, who was going to use his speed and quickness to get around these bigger corners. He's just not doing it. Eric Gray is just Eric. I mean, I think Eric Gray's a nice kid. I met him, but he's garbage. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, just as a draft pick, he's a guy, again, that got pulled down from behind a lot in college. He used to run out. If you watched him play in college, he would run out a lot of times to avoid contact. He's not a 3rd down back. He's not an every down back. Hell, he can't even really return kicks. But but we got him. So don't worry about that. So I'm just getting concerned right now that the Giants are starting to see issues with the Schoen facade in reference to bringing in talent. And we haven't really hit on any free agents that well. I mean, and now we're looking at Evan Neal, being 7th overall, but technically, he could be a bust. I don't think Joshua Zuda is going to be much else. I mean, if you want me to be perfectly honest, I'm just not seeing this brain trust leading this team into 2024, 2025, because you're going to have salary cap issues. You're just going to have issues in general. Now, maybe he was the golden boy Schoen in Buffalo, but I just don't see it. And then I laugh because you go back to Buffalo, though. You go back to Buffalo since 2021. And you have, he had a pretty okay track record till you hit about 19 and 20, Schoen did. And then a lot of these guys went from he went from 19 he had 3 starters, 20 he had 1 starter, 22 he had 21 so he had 1 starter. Then the rest were backups. And then you also had other guys that, another 4 guys that were just on other teams. You had a couple guys that are out of the league. I'm not saying you get rid of the coach. I'm not saying you get rid of the general manager because, like I said, I don't believe in these knee-jerk reactions. You're going to have to still give him time. You're going to still have to give him the opportunity to groom, something into this organization. He's going to have some salary cap money. We're going to do a salary cap video next week, or this week, I should say. So we're going to see it. We're going to see a couple things that are going on with the cap. There's some things that are good, some things that are bad, some things that people don't know about and don't understand that we're going to help try to clarify a little bit. But the way this organization is being run and the way this organization is being built right now, I'm not saying that it's Gettleman-esque, but I am saying this. It's interesting that they're doing certain things, and I don't know. I don't see the talent assessment coming through in regards to a lot of things. You can say Bobby Okereke was a good pick up, but I can tell you right this: if you look at what like the Bears signed for like TJ Edwards and a few other people, we overpaid for an off the ball linebacker because we needed it. And at the end of the day, we can't just spend money on players or throw money at players because of the fact that we need just to bring somebody in. We need to start. He's talking about building. He's talking about continuity, but he's going into his 3rd draft next year. So how many more drafts are we going to have to go through with Schoen before we start questioning it a little bit? And sometimes questions need to be answered. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to have that draft cap video coming up next or this week, probably on Thursday or so. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And as always, this is Tim. Don't forget to like, don't subscribe, don't ring that bell because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.